You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WYBC.
WCYTV
Here on the Daily Signal.
Welcome to day 3 of sheer, pure, unadulterated chaos on the left side of Congress. I'm Tony Kinnett. Welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. It is my sincere pleasure to be the first to report to you, of all of my amazing news colleagues and broadcasters out there, that Chuck Schumer appears to be in some kind of hiding. His X account has been putting out very blasé, automated style tweets. Hakeem Jeffries has gone into an extended siesta. He's nowhere near the taco bar. It's quite concerning. And this is because of a couple of reasons here. But most of all, it is because Schumer, whose name just coincidentally goes very well with shutdown, and marketing and optics is a big thing in this game. They have gone on television and promised, with their pinkies in front of them, on Scout's honor. As we remember, Hakeem Jeffries had 5 excellent years as a dedicated Girl Scout, sold more Thin Mints than anybody. Scout's honor, illegal immigrants were not going to get a taxpayer dime because of what they were trying to get the Trump administration to pull into the continuing resolution that was just the prior agreed upon Biden spending levels before the government shut down. Well, now you've got Democrats without any leadership at all hopping on media, because I have discovered quite recently that if you are a congressperson that isn't in like the top 50, they will do just about anything to get an interview on a major network show. Representative Adam Smith, Democrat of Washington's 9th Congressional, here's his latest take on what's happening, and it's a little more telling than perhaps leadership would want him to be.
Their argument about the undocumented population is a tiny little portion of a larger argument.
Wait a minute. It's a tiny little portion, but Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, they said there was none at all. They were very clear. There was no illegal. In fact, here's Senator Jeanne Shaheen on Fox trying to make that claim, and Lawrence Jones takes exactly none of that before bringing the receipts. Something very dear to my own cold heart.
I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape of your Democratic Party members saying this on the debate stage. So they've all said it. Let's play the clip.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Now, of course, we have a lot of media clips we're going to get to of Democrats now shifting the narrative, and we know this very, very clearly. I've already seen it in the chat on the live stream. It's not happening, and it is good that it is. We have seen this with every single thing that the Democrats have suggested is not happening whatsoever, anytime bar none, because there are receipts that happen to come out. And then it's, well, okay, it's happening, but it's a very small portion. It's really not even anything at all. And then it moves on to, oh, well, okay, it's a little bit more than we thought, and actually it's a really good thing that it's happening. You should want all of your taxpayer healthcare subsidized monies going to those who are not citizens, do not pay the same taxes that you do, and do not have the same responsibilities that you as a citizen of the United States are beholden to. And then you have guys like Ro Khanna, who in the absence of any kind of leadership, he thinks this is Ro Khanna's moment to shine. And he just lets the cat all the way out of the bag.
In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion.
Such a small portion. I wonder what that portion is.
Of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
I'm shocked. I'm askance. You know what? I'm surprised. 10%?
Oh, there's a big
big surprise. That's an incredible. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
10% of a budget item is a lot of freaking money at the federal level. You know this. I know this. Everyone tuning into this is quite aware. 10%, that's a hefty sum of money. The entirety of U.S. foreign aid, the billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid that we send everywhere, from here, the Muslim in France, to the Muslim in Timbuktu, we send that foreign aid. That's less than 1% of the United States budget. 10% of a budgetary measure is a lot. And that brings us over to, well, where's leadership? Where is Schumer? Schumer has not been seen since this gaffe on CNN, which, again, as we talked about yesterday, was so bad, so brutal, that even the CNN anchor called him out.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
By the way, I just want to make this clear. When I say that I don't believe in unbiased news, this is a good reason why. No individual with a sense of humor could let that go. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We do a little program in the mornings called the Top News in 10 for the Daily Signal, and I try to make that a little bit more structured, just like here's the news, here's less of my running mouth alongside it. And sometimes there's things that are so blatantly bad, you can't let them slide. And Schumer has not been seen since. I'm not joking with you. I have scoured the internet. I've looked on Grabian, which is supposed to be this large accumulator of all the media clips on the media right now. I'm not seeing him. And the reason you're not seeing him is because, number one, he's completely humiliated. Number two, he has no plan whatsoever. And number three, there is no way out of this that doesn't involve backing down. So what has he resorted to? Automated tweets. So there's this article out at People magazine. The White House will still continue construction on the 90,000 square foot White House ballroom during the government shutdown. And so Schumer's intern tweeted out, yes to ballrooms, no to healthcare for Americans. Got it. Guys, the White House ballroom is 100% privately funded. It is funded by donors. It is funded by President Trump himself and by the settlements, for example, from YouTube and Google. Trump took a chunk, that massive chunk of that between 20 and 25, I want to say 21 or $22 million settlement. And he threw a huge chunk of that at the White House ballroom. So yeah, privately, owned things, they still happen whether or not the government shutdown is in focus or not. And this brings us to who's going to take the place. Because Schumer being the de facto lead of the party, well, we're getting ready to head into midterms. We are already in midterm season. So who's going to take the place of the great Chuckles Schumer? Well, AOC, I guess. But before we get to AOC and her wild, crazy eyes, we do have to talk about who's supposed to kind of be in that position. Ken Martin, head of the DNC. The DNC, the Democrat National Committee, are going into midterm season. All of the elections are on the table. So the head of the campaign wing of the party really should be revved and ready to go. Well, Ken Martin essentially released what looks like an apology to his wife's boyfriend video the other day. And no wonder this isn't inspiring people. This looks like someone that goes to a high school to talk about why being nice instead of a bully is like the bestest choice.
Right now, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. If they wanted to, they could work to keep the government open, but they don't. They want to shut down the government, and here's why.
All right, pro tip here for you boys, girls, and squirrels. If you, like me, you have a small kind of teleprompter screen that is in front of your camera lens because you want to look at the camera, you want to look at the audience as they are watching. Pro tip, have a teleprompter where what you're looking at is actually in the circle of the camera. Not far above it. You're not looking off of the ceiling where whatever madman that recorded that wimpy Mr. Rogers wannabe address ended up stenciling your pre-written notes. No wonder that's not exciting to anyone. We're going to talk about what fills the gap of the leadership because it will mean 6 more weeks of winter. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast radio crew. We'll see you guys after commercial. We're going to continue on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. I accidentally said it's the Tony Kinnett cast twice because you're supposed to finish with the bumper sign off, but so many people jockeying for a position, it's hard to keep track of everything. Like Democrat Representative Madeleine Dean, she's so upset. She's from Pennsylvania's 4th. She's only been in Congress since 2019. She's so upset she went to the wrong leader. She's supposed to go issue complaints to House Minority Leader Jeffries because, you know, they're both Democrats. But Madeleine Dean wandered her way like an awkward penguin to start yelling at Mike Johnson, as though talking to the Republican Louisiana Baptist was going to draw her some sympathy. And the MSNBC camera guy ran right up there quickly to see what he could catch. And it's just the most awkward conversation. I don't know what she's trying to do with this. It's got all the personality of a mannequin.
The president is unhinged. He is unwell. What are you doing? A lot of folks on your side are too. I don't control. Oh my God, please. That performance in front of the generals, I didn't see it. Is so dangerous.
I'm sorry. For those who are listening later on the podcast, you're not watching this. She's as stiff as a board, and she's griping about performative whatever. And he said, look, you got a lot of crazy, kooky people in the left side of the aisle. She says, oh my God, please, did you see his performance with the generals? Like she's truly scrumptious from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Like when she's like a doll. Rob, you've never seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Wow, that's a good one. That's a good Disney musical. Dick Van Dyke? I'm going to have to work on producer Nick later. Anyway.
You know I serve on Foreign Affairs and Appropriations. This is a collision of those two things. Our allies are looking elsewhere. Our enemies are laughing. I just left you have a president who is unwell.
So she's upset that Trump is sharing memes of Hakeem Jeffries right now. We talked about this yesterday, Hakeem being in meme hell. She says our allies in Europe are laughing at us because Trump is sharing memes. Really? The head of NATO, who is from the Netherlands, he calls Trump daddy. I don't think this is an issue with them. Now, Keir Starmer has got his own problems at the moment. We're going to get to those in a couple of seconds here. But all of this comes down to where Democrats are kind of shuffling in and out of. This brings us to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now the opportunity is here. Chris Hayes over on MSNBC tries to set up a softball pitch for her. She plays it off rather well, and that should be concerning for Nancy Pelosi and Chuckles.
Let me ask you this. There are some people I have seen who have the following theory of why Senate Democrats have not cut a deal where they give 8 votes and move along. And that is that Chuck Schumer is worried about a primary challenge from you and is worried about the politics to his left flank. And so because of that worry about a primary challenge, he's going to shut down the government. Ergo, it is AOC's fault that the government's shutting down, or that you're somehow the kind of fulcrum of this. And I want to just ask you straight up, are you planning to primary challenge him? Do you think that's why he's doing this?
This is so not about me in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open, and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly.
Incredible. So she ticks off all the boxes. She does the From The Simpsons Prohibition episode. Won't someone please think of the children? She does that. She also essentially flips off Schumer and Pelosi. And she says the number one thing that appeals to voters, it's not about me. That's all you got to do. That is all you have to do. But Democrats have been so obsessed with creating a cult of personality around their entire brand that, well, at this point, there's really not much left for them to do except try to prop up whoever they can against AOC. Nancy Pelosi has no strategy for this whatsoever.
There was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing?
I'm just quoting what AOC said. She said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any credibility to that?
She's not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real...
So for those who are listening, Pelosi is essentially trying to bless them with holy water because she's so frustrated they're asking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now she's got it. Now she realizes this is on camera, so she has to kiss her butt for a minute or two.
team player and the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is.
Oh, yeah, we're all looking to Hakeem, sombrero boy. We got to pick the radio crew back up from commercial. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So who's going to fill the shoes? Who's going to be the new Chuckles Schumer? Or Hakeem Jeffries, who was never a leader in the first place? If you talk like a rough cut of Kirk off of Star Trek, it's just not going to be a long, beautiful political career for you. If you can be taken down with some light Mexican memery, it ain't happening. So that means we have to prop somebody up. Now, the problem with propping someone up is you actually have to have a message to carry forward. Chuck's in hiding. Hakeem's not answering his phone. I mean, I guess if you pressed 2 for Spanish, you might get a hold of him, but So what do? Well, you've got the B team that struts out. They don't know the messaging either. The media's in a position where they're kind of calling the Democrats on the no illegal immigrant healthcare funding lie. That's a really awkward place to be in, and it creates some really weird splits. So, for example, Amy Klobuchar, senator from Minnesota, and then from Maine, Democrat Representative Jared Golden, in the span of about 10 minutes, say the exact opposite of each other on network. So first and foremost, here's Amy Klobuchar taking a moment from throwing binders at her campaign staffers.
People are literally standing on a healthcare cliff right now. For members of our caucus, when the Republicans, a whole bunch of them, didn't show up and vote last week, what did our people do? We went out and we met with the people in our state. We met with doctors and nurses. We went to rural hospitals. We talked to people that can barely hold on right now. This, what one farmer called a perfect storm of ugly.
So that's the messaging that she wants to run with. It's a healthcare crisis for Americans. We're on a cliff. It's the worst it's ever been. Hang on. Wasn't Obamacare the best dang thing ever? We needed to pass it so we could find out everything that was in it. That's been ruling the roost. How has healthcare suddenly appeared at a cliff? Obamacare in Trump's first administration was not taken off of the books because of John McCain. It stayed. Obamacare has been fully funded the entire ding dang dong time. So I'm sorry, Americans do in fact have memories longer than a goldfish or a network hiring a guy they just fired for flashing the rest of the staff on the Zoom call. And that brings us, that doesn't maybe bring us over, but in contrast, Democrat Representative Jared Golden, who is essentially the Fetterman of the House, he made it very clear that it's the far left part of the Democrat Party that is essentially making it impossible for him to do his job. This is a big warning sign for the left.
Senator, I'd be interested to know what you say to your colleague in the House, Jared Golden, a Democrat from Maine. He says that this government shutdown is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups that they're making on Democratic Party leaders to make a show of their opposition to President Trump. The shutdown is hurting Americans and our economy. The irony is that it has handed more power to the president. Now, he says this fight is ostensibly about health care, and he notes that he opposes the Medicaid cuts, wants to extend the tax credits. But then he says some of my colleagues in the majority party have reasonable concerns going to high-income households. Normal policy disagreements, though, are no reason to subject our constituents to the continued harm of this shutdown.
So there you have CNN reading the last message from Jared Golden, by the way, at about the same time that Klobuchar had come out with something totally different. Now, listen to how Golden's own colleagues in the Congress respond to him saying, look, I think we're just a little too far to the left here and we're asking for too much.
I think he's wrong.
That's a whole lot of gibberish. The most important thing, again, is that what I know for a fact, 24 million Americans are going to have their premiums increasing starting November 1st.
You think that this is the result of hardball politics driven by demands of far-left groups? That's gibberish?
No,
There you go. Senator Ruben Gallego, ladies and gentlemen. He's here to let everyone know that his own members of Congress on his side of the aisle, they're stupid if they're like, guys, we're getting a little too crazy here. Well done. Well done. I'm pleased to see it. Last but not least, on the running in, desperately wanting to run for president. Ben Shapiro's pointed this out, and I will say he was right on the money there. Wes Moore of Maryland, governor, he has taken this moment to come out and lecture Trump. So you got two Democrat governors right now that want to come out and showboat about this because they both want to run for president. Gavin Newsom is making AI fan fiction videos of prominent Republicans colored yellow like minions from Despicable Me, which has worked exactly 0 times. And then you have Wes Moore. He wants to run out in front of everybody and show that he's the responsible Democrat. And it just falls really flat. Awkward here. Here's Wes Moore, Maryland.
On October 1st, the federal government shut down. Not by accident, but by choice. Washington failed to govern. They broke the bond that they have with our states and its people. And now families all across our state are left to deal with the fallout.
Wow. Oh, man, I tell you what, that's J.D. Vance, look out, man. The charisma right there. Wes Moore, ladies and gentlemen. Hoo boy. Now, this does bring us over to events around the world in Europe, because the other side of the left's messaging has to do with the trend around the world, the uptick in violent terrorist attacks. The latest of these comes out of a situation in the United Kingdom today, in which in Manchester, an individual whose name we will get to in just a second, rammed his car through a group of individuals outside a synagogue, got out, and then started stabbing people and killed 2. Here was Sky News reporting on the individual.
Well, let's just bring you an update now from counter-terrorism police. We are hearing that there are now 3 people in custody. 3 arrests have been made in connection with this morning's attack. And Greater Manchester Police have confirmed the name of the suspect shot dead by armed officers here at Heaton Park Synagogue.
Now, let's see. An attack on a synagogue on Yom Kippur, one of the holiest Jewish holidays. Let's see. Attack in the UK on a synagogue in the I wonder who he's going to be.
They say we are now able to confirm that although formal identification is yet to take place, we believe the person responsible for today's attack is 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami. He is a British citizen of Syrian descent. That's the latest we have from Greater Manchester Police.
By the way, Sky News would later go on to say, well, and it's probably likely that this guy who killed Jews in the UK today on Yom Kippur, that Jihad al-Shami, he probably had some severe mental health issues. And then, of course, because no one humiliates themselves when it comes to covering terrorist attacks or mass shootings or things of those nature, like the BBC, here you go. They decide to blame this Muslim terrorist attack against a synagogue on the far right. Not joking. Here you go.
Just briefly, you mentioned the far right. Obviously, there's just been an increased temperature in political language, hasn't there, in recent days and weeks, and everyone will be very mindful of the backdrop to what we're seeing today at the moment.
Yes, I mean, I have to say that the increase in language that we've seen recently linked to the far right hasn't been particularly Jewish focused, and in fact some people on the hard right in the UK are quite closely aligned with some Jewish groups, but there are still neo-Nazi groups operating in the UK who
Incredible that this is where the BBC is going. It reminds me of the most classic of Norm Macdonald jokes before he passed away, and he said in 2016, this is a Norm joke, "What terrifies me is if ISIS were to detonate a nuclear device and kill 50 million Americans, imagine the backlash against peaceful Muslims." Again, an open, even though right now the common claim is that, we have no idea on the motive, what Jihad, the guy who killed the Jews, no idea on the motive there. And the BBC is already terrified about the backlash against Muslims in the UK. Incredible stuff. We're going to send the radio crew over to commercial, and we're going to get into some good stuff on the back end. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. Now that brings us to the rest of Europe, including Sweden. Greta Thunberg, she's captured again. Now I know, the first time that she sailed with her little tykes dinghies all the way to the coast of Gaza City and was, intercepted and then sent home with a ham sandwich. Okay, well, it's Israel. Probably not a ham sandwich. With a turkey sandwich, I didn't really think that she would go do this again because her second armada, it failed because the guy that was on, like, their admiral, I don't know what the Muslim word for admiral, the Arabic word for admiral is, whatever. Anyway, that guy was really mad because there was a bunch of LGBTQ plus whatevers that wanted to sail with them. And amazingly, Queers for Palestine, only really a thing in Western cities, not anywhere else at all. So the third time's a charm, Greta Thunberg sails in a bold, exciting way in a couple of awkward Mercury bass boats to the coast of Gaza City, and she's intercepted. So here you go, Greta Thunberg with the Lord Farquaad from Shrek 1 haircut. She's announcing her capture yet again.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I'm a citizen of Sweden. If you are watching this video, I have been abducted and taken against my will by Israeli forces. Our humanitarian mission was non-violent and...
So she's saying she's been abducted again. I've been abducted. The last time that she did this, she said, I've been abducted. What are they going to do? They're going to disappear me. I'm going to be, shuttled away to the great white beyond. And then nothing happened to her. I like the second chance at fear-mongering. Also, producer Nick, I don't know if you've noticed, this is the shirt from the AI photo of Greta Thunberg. Oh, we're going to get emails. So Greta's, she's out here with her, like, Palestine from the river to the sea necklace on here. Just the awkward half bowl cut. It's fantastic.
Abiding by international law. Please tell my government to demand my and the others' immediate release.
I like that. Please tell my government in Sweden for my immediate release. So first of all, we're going to get to Virginia Allen in a second, who is standing outside of Swedish Parliament. And you may be surprised to hear, well, you'll be able to see it on the actual screen. I encourage you, if you're listening now to the podcast, to hop on and watch the live stream. You're going to see that outside of the Swedish Parliament, no one's standing there going, "Release Greta," or as they say in Sweden, "Bergen." So I'm not seeing that. I'm told also there may not be any furniture stores with protests outside them here in the States. And we'll have to ask maybe Virginia Allen about that over there here in just a couple of minutes. It's because the Western and Central European nations, the Scandinavians as well, they're busy worrying about serious security issues. The drone attacks continue in Denmark. There are drone incursions that are getting closer to the borders of Estonia and Latvia. Poland is basically stirring around like a nest of hornets because, again, the people of Poland, even if their government, at least in the legislative side, is not particularly conservative at the moment, the people of Poland are aggressively anti-communist, and they are aggressively anti-Russian imperialism. And by the way, beforehand, they didn't necessarily care for Ukraine either on the corruption scale of Eastern European countries. Poland has, ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, Poland has essentially been the largest middle finger to the broader Slavic country movements throughout all of Europe. And first of all, it's really interesting to watch because, again, with Poland's strict illegal immigration stance, with Sweden starting to toughen up its country's illegal immigration procedures, it cuts directly against any kind of political motives of Greta. Now, we got to swing over and pick up the radio crew. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
We now go to our senior reporter, Virginia Allen from Sweden, outside the IKEA headquarters, otherwise known as the Swedish Parliament building. Virginia, good to see you.
Great to see you, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's dig right into it. You've been in Poland. You've been in Sweden. There's a lot of discussion. I hear you've also spoken with officials from Estonia. Things are getting a little bit hairy over on the Europe-Russian border with other NATO border countries. Poland getting a little antsier with Russian drone flights. Of course, the drone situation in Denmark. Tell us what you know.
I think more than ever, European allies are feeling the extreme pressure and threat. They have known, obviously, that Russia is always a threat. And of course, since Russia chose to invade Ukraine 3.5 years ago. That threat has been heightened, but it's different now. The level of intensity, specifically following those drone incursions, everyone is kind of on edge just regarding that defense and security space. So Sweden is actually, where I am right now, is actually the newest NATO country. They only joined NATO just over a year ago. There was lots of talk that they would never join. For the longest time, Sweden said, we will never join NATO. But after Russia invaded Ukraine, they decided, no, we have to be part of NATO. We have to be part of that security alliance. So I spoke today with the defense minister, and he said that they have just really, really rapidly in the past 4 years, they've upped their defense spending here in Sweden by 50%. They're going to meet President Trump's, the goal that he laid out for NATO and got NATO to agree to on that 5% defense spending by 2035. They're going to meet that early. And their focus as a small European country, as a small NATO country, is really to be the model and the standard for, hey, all European countries can do this, can provide this support. And I've heard it multiple times from leaders here in Sweden saying, we recognize that this is a European fight, that Russia's fight with Ukraine, yes, we will take whatever help we can get from the United States. At the end of the day, this is Europe's fight. And at least here in Sweden, they are fully committed to that fight. And I saw something very similar in Poland. Poland is also a really outstanding NATO member, very aggressive on defense spending, and having a border that they are so close. They're so close to Russia. They are even more aggressive about ensuring their own safety and protection, of course, on their home front, given most recently that drone incursion by the Russians into Poland airspace.
But I want to pivot over to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the Baltics. I know you spoke to an official from Estonia very briefly. There's a lot of concern because those were the last 3 Soviet satellite states to, break away right at the outset of that final coup and collapse of the Soviet Union, that there's some concern, and especially Estonia, that Putin might decide to throw a couple of drones towards Estonia's way. What are you hearing from the Estonian government?
Yeah, so I spoke with the Estonian defense minister, and he said, yes, there certainly is a lot of concern. They have the protection of being a part of NATO, and that gives them some confidence, but they're aware of the fact that Putin is highly unpredictable and has become increasingly unpredictable, and quite frankly, looks for weakness and then exploits that weakness. And so one of the things that I found most interesting in my conversation with the Estonian defense minister is just their understanding, and I wrote a piece for the Daily Signal on this, but is their understanding of Putin's psyche, that they watched as Russia was struggling really domestically, that was part of the reason why Putin has really chosen in many ways to not only make war with Ukraine, but to, of course, agitate all of Europe and the West, is that you kind of need a common and shared enemy. And so a tactic for Putin is, all right, my country internally is struggling. We need to look outside for the people of Russia to find a common enemy in order to unite and in order to ensure power for the Kremlin, and specifically power for Putin. And I thought this was such an astute point. And even furthermore, the areas that Russia has been so strategically targeting in Ukrainian territory, those are regions that in Russia, the Russian government has formally, within their constitution, claimed to belong to them. So they have taken formal steps to say, this is our territory. In other words, Putin is not going to quickly kind of go back to leaders in Russia and say, oh, guys, we made a mistake. Actually, that territory is not ours. So this all leads to that main point of the pressure, both militarily and economically, has to be so extreme on Russia and on Putin in order to get them to the negotiating table. And that's why full cooperation on the part of NATO members is so critical, because every single component and aspect is needed in order to truly bring in sincerity Putin to that negotiating table to be willing to end this war. It has to cost him, and it has to cost him dearly.
Virginia, our senior reporter over in Sweden, we know you're moving around Europe as you're talking with all of these leaders, giving us some updates from the ground. We'll check in with you soon. Be safe.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Now, it is my distinct pleasure to share with you one of the greatest tweets the President of the United States has ever sent, ever. Earlier today, this has, again, we've talked about this before, the laser pointer, he can pivot his enemies to anything, his unique political talent. Trump today, quote, "I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame." He puts Project 2025 in all capitals. "To determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent." He says, "I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity." The use of the word unprecedented is fantastic there. That's a dig. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly, in all caps, make America great again, President DJT. The only thing that could have made that better would have been a thank you for your attention to this matter. So the very first sentence, "I have a meeting today with Russ Vought," that's the Director of Office Management Budget, he of Project 2025 fame. So just get Project 2025 and sit it right here on the desk. All right, good. See, you remember during the Kamala Harris campaign that the left was freaking out because they said that Project 2025 was the master Trump plan to put women in bonnets and be, whatever, breeding machines or some stupid nonsense. And he was going to disappear brown people and he was going to put black people in slavery. And I guess there may be a chapter here about making fun of Hakeem Jeffries. We really can check that one off the list. Essentially, they claimed that hell was coming. And when Russ Vought was put into the Trump administration, you and I were promised that this was going to be the end of the Republic. And look, as someone who, the Daily Signal, we're known for being rather close, friendly with a lot of individuals in the Heritage Foundation. And as someone who knows the vast majority of people who wrote the stuff for this book and actually read the stuff in this book, may have even had kind of a hand in helping with some of the education side of things in this book. It's literally just about taking the federal government and shrinking it. And that's what Russ Vought's doing right now. And Trump's having a ball with this. Here's Trump today in an interview over with OAN. I think it's pretty stellar anyway.
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
Now, I told you there was panic in the Democrat Party right now. This is why. This is why Schumer, although he's hiding right now, and rightfully so, because he's embarrassed, he's emasculated, like more than usual, I mean, because the longer he stays away, the more Russ Vought's like, and we're going to cut some over here and some of these, and we're going to get rid of this entire department. It's fantastic. I'm here for it. It is absolutely what I voted for. It's hilarious. Now, that's really, really, really upset two very important people to American cultural society, by which, of course, I mean Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, who had each other on their show. I think Colbert had on Jimmy Kimmel onto his show. And after they finished making out, they talked about how terrible it was Trump was talking about firing people. We'll cover that here on the live stream. Radio crew, sorry, FCC says I got to send you to commercial. They're not cutting that department. It's the Tony Kinnett cast. All right, live stream crew. Here's Kimmel and Colbert enjoying, I don't know, using a few curse words on air. It's not even remotely comedy, but it's certainly embarrassingly hilarious.
Did you ever think the president of the United States would be celebrating your unemployment?
I mean, that's... By the way, the audience is, that's angry, old, suburban, liberal women. That's not booing, that's mooing.
Son of a bitch, it's really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a
I mean,
Mr. Son of a
His Royal... Yes. Yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this. And I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs.
President Biden openly laughed He openly laughed when asked about first responders losing their jobs, soldiers losing their jobs, airmen and sailors, because they didn't get the COVID vaccine. He laughed at that repeatedly. So, yeah, I mean, it falls flat. No one's really doing the, the whole, check on, Colbert and Kimmel. So this does bring us to the major measure of panic, because Schumer cannot stay away. He can't let this one fester. This brings us to MSNBC, who just had a segment today where they essentially ran around in circles with their hair on fire. It made for great TV.
So, McKay, first of all, fascinating article. And it made me think about how you talk about kind of Russ Vought as, I'd say, the opposite of Elon Musk. He was brought in to head Doge, but he was kind of improvisational, to say the least. But when you talk about Russ Vought, he was always there, right? Quietly, strategically, planning a way. So my question to Michael's point is, what are you watching for next as the two men, the president and Russ Vought, are meeting?
Yeah, the big question that he's going to have to answer in this meeting with President Trump, and that all of us should be paying very close attention to, is where is he recommending furloughs, which is the traditional thing that happens during a shutdown, versus where is Vought recommending reduction in force, which is essentially permanently firing these people, right?
There we go. That's the real panic. I mean, discount Walter White is correct. I mean, it's terrifying for the left, who has put their entire faith and trust in big, large, extra huge government, to see that being swept away with one swift stroke.
Because this is a really important thing that voters and viewers need to understand. This shutdown could be very different from all the shutdowns that we've lived through over the last several years. I think
it's unprecedented, guys. There's the word. It's unprecedented.
We've become kind of inured to this idea that we have a dysfunctional government. Shutdowns happen. It's disruptive, but then they come back. What Vought is trying to do is to use this opportunity to permanently lop off large parts of the federal government, get rid of federal workers that he sees as, basically not on board with the Trump train. And to Michael's point, when I would ask Vought's allies, well, what about this question of when a Democrat gets back into the White House? That's going to happen someday. Aren't you going to regret, this huge power grab? And what they said to me, and they were very candid about it, to their credit, they said, well, the goal is to unravel enough of the federal government now that it will make it impossible for Democrats to rebuild it, even when they do get back to the White House.
I voted for this. This is what I voted for. Yes, absolutely. Incredible. Please send it on over. All right, we do have to bring the radio crew back one more time from the commercial break, and then we're going to talk about some important trans shenanigans and other news. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. Do not go anywhere.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So Elon Musk of the Doge, tunneling company, electric car, astronaut, eccentric billionaire variety, he is leading a large boycott right now against Netflix. You know Netflix, the streaming service that never has the movie or show that you're looking for, that one. Because Netflix has decided that in today's modern era, the era where Sydney Sweeney is once again doing advertisements where actually good-looking people are being, celebrated, in which family-friendly ads are also back in which Cracker Barrel rebrands are mocked and scorned. Netflix has decided to double down into the really stupid, and they're going all in on the transgender foolishness. And in old shows and new shows, there's a couple of different things. This one show called Dead End Paranormal Park, which sounds just awful. And I don't mean like it promoting bad stuff. I just mean it sounds like the least interesting show of all time. Just going all in on transgender stuff, right, kids?
It's not the park. It's me. I'm trans, Norma. And everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows. And being here, it's like a whole new place. I can just be Barney.
First of all, the chubby kid with the awkward haircut, the blue hair, the 36 piercings, he's like, oh man, everyone at home knows. You don't say. Wow. You sure?
I can choose if and when I tell people. I've never been happier. And that's saying something when I spent today chased by terrifying zombie mascots. Pugsley reminded me how important it is to live your life without apology.
Pugsy reminded me how important it is to turn into other sexes. Incredible. And again, that's just targeted at kids. I know it's stupid, but that is what Netflix is shoving right forward. Additionally, another movie on Netflix called, Strawberry Shortcake and the Beast of Berry Bog. I'm just going to say, I remember Strawberry Shortcake looking a little different. I wasn't a fan, so I'm not really, able to keep track on the rebrand trends, but I guess we're going all in on cross-dressing now. Because, nothing says great kids entertainment like a guy taking a couple of minutes to get into some drag.
It's time for Frightful 101. Welcome to your crash course in holiday self-expression.
You look amazing.
Oh, there it is. There's the affirmation. Yeah. Oh, you're so brave and wonderful and amazing for dressing like a girl. It's just, again, it's just weird. Like, yeah.
But what does this have to do with Frightful?
Hello, Frightful, costumes, dressing up, and your look doesn't need to be scary. See?
It can just be really gay. Incredible. Thank you, Netflix. There's a couple of others we could show. I mean, there's a Transformers show.
Morgan, can you switch?
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
Yes, one of the villains. Isn't Nightshade like a Decepticon of some sort? A bad guy? I don't know. The weird urinal Tesla thing, the pronouns are they, them, which is exciting. People are canceling their subscriptions. And I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't followed this maybe as closely. Producer Nick has done a stellar job at kind of keeping on top of this one because we canceled our Netflix subscription ages ago around the Cuties era. And also because, again, just to be completely honest with y'all, I'm tired of getting on streaming platforms and looking for a movie and then having to Google with its awful AI feature which streaming platform has the show or movie that I want to watch. So bad service, bad values. Good luck with this. Good luck. I'm told so far that the conservative estimate on the number of accounts canceled is over 80,000. That's the conservative estimate. So by all means, if you in today's day and age as America is turning away from this kind of crap, this is what you want to make like your brand? All right. In other news on kind of the media side of things, Paramount, in its deal to acquire, so Paramount and then Skydance are in the middle of a merger. Paramount has also announced a deal to acquire the Free Press, that's Barry Weiss publication, and bring Barry Weiss to CBS News on Monday. Now, originally, this bit of news had come out, and I thought it was, kind of interesting because this all started when some New York Times editors got really, really angry that Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas was allowed to publish an article. And that has now led to Barry Weiss being named the editor-in-chief of CBS News. I'm going to say something a little controversial. I'm neither excited nor annoyed at this news. I'm neither. Because a person whom I have a lot of respect for, being Barry Weiss, is made the editor-in-chief of a news organization, I don't know yet how she's going to run CBS News. She may run it phenomenally. CBS may see a major revival. We may see some really decent news programming brought back on the national broadcasting level. I need to see it before I'm like, yay, this is amazing and wonderful. I got to see the details here. Because I've been sold this kind of thing before. There are some members of the National Review, which are now going to work at various publications. One of them is going to the Washington Post to write about free market stuff. And I saw the same take. Oh, wow, maybe the Washington Post is going to experience a new era. I will need to see the actual fruits of these promises before I cast my judgment on this. It may be a wonderful thing, but it also may just, be the same kind of corporate bureaucracy goober garbage that a lot of this has become known for. I was looking forward to the opportunity to get to share this particular story with you guys this evening. The Homeland Security team in the last 2 months has launched more independent investigations, operations, and essentially arrest structures than at any time in a structured like 2-month period than any administration that we've actually tracked this data through in the 30 to 40 year, 50 year range that we've actually tracked kind of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, national security measures. And Tom Homan has also gone on the record in the middle of the shutdown saying we are going to continue the construction of the border wall because it is an essential service in the vein of national security. And he is absolutely correct. And even though various legacy media outlets, for example, like CBS at the present time, although of course that could change, is not covering the number of different arrests and operations by ICE, by Border Patrol, by the FBI, by the Department of Justice umbrella in general, these operations are still taking place. Remember the Portland riot area? Remember the ICE, anti-ICE riot area in Broadview, Illinois? Right now, according to footage that we are getting, they're completely empty of rioters. Amazing. I'm kind of shocked. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. When you actually send law enforcement to do their job, it turns out, well, that people don't really want to commit crimes in front of National Guardsmen. You get downed. All right, radio crew, we got to send you off for the evening. We're going to continue on the live stream a little bit. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal. Couple of excellent pieces of ICE investigation information that you may not have been privy to yet, but with a couple of minutes of bonus tonus here, as the audience calls it, I think it's worth digging into. So right now, there is information that, and I want to make sure I get this right. I'm looking for it. Producer Nick, can you help me look? The Portland City Council? It's a city council in Oregon, who has now been caught ordering the police not to intervene when Antifa riots were committing violent assaults and other crimes. Oh, Andy, no, here with it. October 2nd, 4:11 p.m. Portland City Council member Koyama Lane and the Portland Association of Teachers have released videos lying about the nature of Antifa. I'm trying to find the specific city council. It is Portland City Council. Okay, good. Just wanted to triple check that. It's the Twitchy team that got that over to us. Why in the world a city council is issuing direct orders to police departments is a question that the state government of Oregon needs to ask, and if not, then the federal government. A council does not direct law enforcement like that. You don't do that. A city council is supposed to be primarily a legislative branch. That's kind of the entire purpose. Then you have the county or the local magistrate judges, and then, of course, you have the mayor. That's the executive branch. Why a city council in Portland would have the authority under the, I guess, the charter for the city of Portland, the second one, not the main one, and the state of Oregon Constitution, which I am absolutely going to look through at the end of the show. Is there any possible way that a legislator has the authority to just order city police around? I know that where I am, if a town or county council made the decision to order police around, it would be shrugged off immediately. And quite honestly, the local polity's lawyers that assist that council with not getting sued would probably break into the room and then slap what other councilor made that decision. You can't order police not to uphold city, state, or federal law, especially as a city councilman. That's some insane stuff. Insane stuff. I just wish I had the Oregon Constitution stuff aside, because if it is true that the Oregon Constitution doesn't say anything about legislative bodies like a city council ordering police around, then that kind of imposition, that's a crime. That's a crime. That would be a crime under state law because they have direct guidelines on how that's supposed. Now, of course, that's not going to be prosecuted, but still, when you hear the conversation about the rule of law being important right now and government operating the way it's supposed to, keep in mind that's only a criticism that's supposed to be applied to the right of the aisle. The left side of the aisle, they don't have to play by those rules. They can do whatever they want. You can have city councilors ordering super duper drag day, which, by the way, apparently Harvard University has now hired, and I want to make sure that I pronounce this name correctly. This was sent to me this morning. Harvard University has hired As according to the New York Post, Lahore Vagistan as a visiting professor. That's a drag queen. I want to repeat. Harvard has hired a drag queen named Lahore Vagistan as a visiting professor. Harvard University, ladies and gentlemen, academia, institutions are just doing super stuff. So you've got the left hiring, again, Lahore Vagistan as a visiting professor to their totally nonpartisan, totally unbiased and serious institution. And then in the UK, you have a guy named Jihad running around stabbing the Jews. And Keir Starmer, by the way, since has said, we're going to look into this because we really care about Jewish people. There was a person arrested in London 4 days ago. Why? Because they looked too Jewish in an area with a lot of Muslims. Not joking. That's on the city's arrest records. Not hiding the ball. No wonder Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Democrat leaders are currently essentially in hiding. Excellent stuff. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. You have a wonderful evening. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. Take care.